Term budget extension to keep the government from shutting down.
That's right. The spending measure would keep the Eliza Collins. She's a congressional correspondent for USA Today, and she joins us now from something like 6 tweets in the span of 2 or 3 minutes yesterday, blaming Democrats and the announcement of this vote today.
Well, it's interesting because the president fired off all of those for minors and saying, you know, they were holding the spending bill hostage for a bill. So it's kind of this disconnect between the White House. I think President Trump was shutdown, so he was trying to kind of get ahead of it, but the problem was he wasn't clued in on what. So I think that nothing really happened except that Congress today they're going to vote on another week and they'll go from there.
Reporting as well about the 11th hour push on health care. So House Republicans there, but what can you tell us about how this is all unfolding?
So this is really interesting. It fell short, it didn't have enough votes, and they pulled it from the floor. Well, at that point, it was the House Freedom Caucus said that it didn't go far enough. They called it Obamacare light. They could not support it. He's a moderate. Mark Meadows is head of the Freedom Caucus. The two of them negotiated, I think, to sort of take the push away from it being like a conservative. A lot of these mandates in the insurance market. So the Freedom Caucus decided but by them coming on board, a lot of moderates are bailing. So now
Eliza, the administration also put out this blueprint for tax reform this week. The president to negotiate then health care.
Tax reform is interesting right now because they're pointing to the big tax cuts, saying, you know, if corporations have tax cuts ahead, but right now it's so broad, they're sort of using that as a cover. So not quite sure how tax reform will be any easier. If they want these to be permanent.
On the foreign policy front now, Mr. Trump, major conflict is possible with North Korea. And this, of course, how would you characterize the reaction of lawmakers to the
they took actually these big buses, you know, it's not far, to the White House, and they had this and they were especially confused because then the House got the same briefing on Capitol. I think everyone acknowledges that North Korea is a big threat. I think they're up and down on this. Those remarks about a big conflict, I think, are conversation in that everybody agrees something needs to be done. And so sort of raise the bar.
Well, it's interesting. We just saw an image there of the heard anything from the president that indicated that there was an attack on North Korea that was imminent. Lots of things to look into going forward. Eliza.